Good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. J.D. Swanson. I'm the author of Karate Science, and welcome to 15 Minutes of Thought. What we're going to be doing over the next sort of couple of classes with me is talking about some of Kanazawa Sensei's basic Kihon Ippon Kumite techniques. So again, an SKIF, which I grew up in initially before transferring to the ISKF upon coming to the United States. We focused primarily on these basic techniques for Kihon Ippon Kumite, and they gave you this wonderful variety. What I want to do though is I want to talk about the principles that underlay behind them. So it gives you these ideas of these more basic concepts that you can then transition directly into free sparring. So without further ado, let's get started with the first one. Hey, us. Very good. Okay, so for our first one, the first one Kanazawa Sensei does is very simple. Agyuke Gyakuzuki. So it's simply from here, stepping back, making the block, 1, then Gyakuzuki 2, and coming up. So all I want you to do is just from here, just to warm up, just practice our good old-fashioned 4-step drill, forward with the left, forward with the right, back with the right, back with the left, just making Agyuke, 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 Agyuke. Good. So just practicing through that, just practice through 8, 9 times. Come back to me so that you're nice, loose, ready to go. Off you go. Excellent. So you've gone through that, you're warmed up. From here, the next thing to do is really think about the action of Agyuke. So what you find is a lot of people will tend, as they make Agyuke, come across their body like so with their blocking arm. What they're going to be doing is they're going to be pushing straight up with the technique. If you look at one of my other videos, I talk about sort of the action of Agyuke. If you do this, you're putting a lot of pressure on your very weak frontal, well at least mine's very weak, your very weak frontal delt. You want to ensure that the technique runs up your body almost like a punch. So the feeling is that your elbow would not be able to distinguish between Kazamazuki or Agyuke based on the technique. At the end of the technique, as it makes contact, or either you just punch them under the arm, bam, out, or you just roll under and then allow that rotation to occur. What that means is that you're, rather than sort of pushing down, if you've got a knife and some cheese, rather than just trying to push through the cheese, you're slicing the cheese through both an upward action, right, straight up, an outward action on the arm, and a rotational action pulling the arm back. And what you find is that somebody's not strong enough to resist against all those directions. If you look straight up, they can push down, you're done, bang. And you haven't got that much time. So as you move, pay close attention to making the block, make the cover, bring your arm to the side and pushing through and up. And allow that to occur with the hip as the hip drives forward. So all the power from the back leg is transferred to the hip and up into the elbow. So make sure that you go through practicing that kind of action. Here, 1, 1, 2, feeling that nice solid action. And then of course on the Gyakuzuki, make sure that you're not just punching in place. This can be very quick and look incredibly sharp. Oh my goodness, so fast and quick, JD. But you want to push, drive into your target. So turn about this axis, not through your central. This, quick, looks pretty, but it looks pretty. That's it. Push, and push into your target. This feeling, this action here, off the back leg to make the drive. So from here, really think about that. 1, 2, as you step back. Feel action, 1, then 2, in. Good, nice and basic, off you go. Good, so you've practiced that for a little while. So Kanazawa's one, very, very simple. In comes the attack, cover, then throw the punch, knee. And of course, as you know, you speed it up between 1 and 2. So it becomes 1, 2, not 1 and 2, 1 and 2. So here, drive, drive. Here, drive, drive, drive. That feeling. So now try just speeding the 2 up. Excellent. Good, so what does this sort of get at? What's the transition like? Well, when we think about transitioning this from Kihon, right, practicing all of the parts of the technique as they come in, right? As you practice all those pieces in the Kihon in a very rigid set of structure, it teaches you to fire the muscles in a particular order and in a particular way. As you go to Jiyu, you can start to cut pieces out. So from here, let's take into account what the principle that's going on here. So one of them is if I start from Jiyu, if I start from Kame, from here, technique comes in. It may be, according to Kanazawa sensei, because I simply drop backwards, right? I drop down and back. I simply drop down and back. And what I do is I don't need to make the full cover, 1 and 2. I can be here and just shift the arm. From here now, I simply, the second part is that idea of driving in. Before we were restricted in our stance to pushing in and under. Now we can just shift the whole thing in. You can shift even the whole technique in. So now try from here, this idea of 1, 2, shift. Here, 1, 2, in. This feeling. So what we're doing now is we're thinking about agyuke is a shift back, shift forward. This idea of shifting and absorbing, then driving into the gyatsuki. Give that particular footwork a go, and then come back to me. Excellent. The other way that we could think about this is rather than the idea of shifting back, you can think of Kanazawa's idea of simply dropping down into the agyuke. Right, I just simply drop straight over that foot. We can interpret that in the free sparring situation as instead of coming in, instead of driving in and or instead of coming back, we simply drive in, agyuke. We simply drive the elbow up, drive in agyuke, then drive in again. So it's this idea of 1, 2, 1, 2, driving in. Another cut. So again, notice the footwear. 1, I'm connected. 2, push to go in. So that kind of feeling. So with that, give that a go. And then I'll come back, I'll give you some final thoughts on how you can vary this even further. Excellent. So the last piece is you don't need to make the final agyuke position. Remember, agyuke is a word, it's the whole piece. So as you make that, don't forget that agyuke consists of here, 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 and here. I have effectively 1, 2, 3, 4 opportunities to block. It's covering me all the way through. So allow this action to come in and make. So as I make my movement, I can think about just making straight nagashiyuke. Shift, push. I can think of driving the elbow up into agyuke. Shift, push. I can think of the rear hand coming up and making the block, either here or here if I need to, if they're coming in more from this angle. So what I've got here is 1, 2. I can shift. Here, they can come in, I can shift, shift. I can shift, shift. And I can shift, shift. All of those are available and open to you. So don't forget to use the whole action of the agyuke, coupled with the principle of movement that's related to that. So for something really simple, that's a simple derivation of, there's a lot there. With that, have an awesome day. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care, everybody. Hey, us.